Mason, my next story today is about Monica Smit. And if you don't know who she is, um, always brings a smile to my face when I think of Monica Smit and her, uh, I guess her company or not really company, more like organization called Reignite Democracy Australia. So, um, the short form is RDA. Monica, who founded RDA, she was one of the only people that I saw speaking out against the lockdowns. She's based in Victoria, so they had it super crazy over there, like worse than, um, some other states. They were locked down for a very long time, and people's lives were just getting destroyed, and they were getting censored. The police were super brutal to them. They were brutal to us here in my state too, but not as bad as the Victorian police. Like there's clips and stuff of them like shooting rubber bullets on citizens and like shoving grandmas over and pepper spraying them in their face just for walking away from the police at a protest, which is crazy, right? If you guys are interested, I can do more of a video about a deeper dive video about that another time. But yeah, Monica Smith, she was basically a political prisoner in Australia, because of her, outspoken voice during that really difficult time when like nobody was talking about this. Sky News wasn't talking about it. All the mainstream media channels weren't talking about it, like Nine News or Seven News. There was like no coverage of a lot of the grassroots movement and the sentiment during like 2020 to 2021. It was only after 2021 that like more mainstream sources started to talk about it. But at the beginning, it was just RDA, Rebel News, Joel Jamal, and Rukshan, real Rukshan, and Diogo, the 5-8 podcast. He seems like a cool guy. They were pretty much the only ones I could find even talking about this stuff, right? So I really respect Monica, and she's got a book coming out that I think would be cool to read. I haven't read it yet, but I really like the video that she advertised. So I'll show it now.
Monica Smit.
Monica Smit.
Monica Smit.
Monica Smit.
Government has fired rubber bullets and tear gas at anti-lockdown protesters, including children.
You will no longer be able to leave home.
The people have had enough.
Together we can save our beautiful country.
Why is Monica Smith getting arrested for incitement when all she is doing is expressing her political opinion?
We are not going to give our compliance.
Yeah, so you can see these police. That was Victorian police. This is like insane, kind of like CCP kind of police behavior that you wouldn't expect to see from a democracy. But unfortunately, during that time, it was shown that Australia is not a democracy and it's not a free country. And there was a lot of dodgy behavior, from our government and our police. There's like maybe a handful of police that did speak out against this, but they were very rare and they got censored like crazy.
Who is speaking out apart from Monica?
You can fire them! Put us in jail! We don't care!
So, who is Monica Smit?
I'm just a regular Aussie girl who made enemies with powerful people. It was August 2020. We were in lockdown. We had been in lockdown for months actually, and no one knew who I was. I started a Facebook page, Reignite Democracy Australia. I hosted an online event, and within 2 weeks, I was the poster girl for the anti-lockdown movement. I didn't ask for that. Well. It just happened. Not long after that, I somehow managed to get a right.
Topherfield and Discernible. They were also pretty good. And of course, Cauldron Pool always does a great job reporting, and they were like on the only major Christian organizations that actually spoke, out and stood up for their values and principles as Christians, like we all should. But unfortunately, the majority of the Christians that I saw were total cowards, and they showed that they worshiped the government, you know, more than what the Bible calls them to do, what God calls them to do, which is to continue meeting and having fellowship together. Anyways, yeah, shout out to those guys. They're always keeping it real. And I trust them more than a lot of other sources because, you know, they were actually speaking when it was incredibly difficult. When they had to pay the price for speaking up, a very great costly price, which Monica will talk about.
Ride in a bus that was mocking our Premier, Daniel Andrews. I guess that annoyed them. Before I knew it, I was on the news and I was getting all this attention, and I really think that's when Daniel Andrews needed to shut me up one way or another. Melbourne late 2020 is not the Melbourne that we all know and love. Pregnant women were being arrested an hour before an ultrasound appointment in their pajamas. Elderly women were pushed down and then pepper sprayed in the face at close proximity.
Yeah, that's the old lady I was talking about, the elderly person. She was, if you watch like the longer clip, she's like backing away because the police were like pushing them really, really hard. She wasn't, you know, aggressive. She wasn't chasing. And in that zoomed in, you know, bit, you can see like they actually shoved her to the ground.
Women were pushed down and then pepper sprayed in the face at close proximity.
And her age, like she's wearing a wig here because she didn't, the old lady's wearing a wig here because she didn't want to be identified. If you shove an old woman down to the ground like that, they're at a higher risk for pretty bad injuries because they're more fragile and their bones are usually more brittle. Crazy stuff.
Protesters who were trying to leave a protest were being shot at with rubber bullets. I mean, there was army tanks going through the streets of Melbourne against peaceful protesters.
I've just been pulled over by the cops.
At the moment, you're under arrest for incitement.
Have you guys been following me?
You do not have to say I do only, but anything you say to you may report and give evidence. Do you understand that?
I was surprisingly calm when I got arrested, and it's probably because it wasn't the first time I was arrested. A year earlier, I had been arrested 3 times in one day, and this time I was put in the back of a police van, handcuffed, and I was crying. I don't cry often. I was looking out the window at the police, and I thought to myself, what is happening? What is happening to my country? In prison, I obviously had a lot of time to think, and I came up with a quote. During times of psychological warfare, collective courage of conviction will be our strongest weapon. Because one person being courageous isn't enough. We all play a role, and we all have courage that is yet to be discovered. There are rich and powerful people trying to influence policies all over the world, but the one thing they are afraid of is us realizing individually and collectively that all we need to do is unite and keep the faith, and we will have the freedom and the life that we want.
We have God on our side, and God always wins in the end.
So my book is called Cell 22. It's available for pre-sale already, but the official release date is September 22nd, which marks the 2-year anniversary of my 22 days in Cell 22. And I'm really excited to say that you will not find Cell 22 on Amazon or in any major book retailers, because every single book is being independently printed and packed and sent directly to you, because I want to support people instead of corporations, and you can even pay with cash or direct debit as well. So when you receive your copy, I hope you appreciate the extra love and effort that we've put into it. And I'm just going to leave you with this. I really bear my soul in this book, and my only hope is that it's not in vain and that at least one person gets some inspiration from it, and I hope that person is you. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah, so I really respect Monica because she's a very courageous lady, you know, like to be a political prisoner in a Western country that It's rare to have that many political prisoners. It's, not as common here to be persecuted like that. But I really respect her for, courage of convictions, going through all those legal matters. Like, she had to hire lawyers and stuff, and they gave her really crazy bail conditions. They did that to Diogo from the 5-8 podcast as well. Like, they accused him of like organizing the protests and like made him, go to court and stuff, and it was super crazy. So I really think that, like, for people who have the bravery to stand up for the convictions during that time, they didn't come in like, in 2022 and start talking about these issues. They were there and they were doing the work and trying to wake people up. You can't really call them grifters if they were the ones speaking up when it was so costly to them, like so personally costly. So I highly recommend people to go to her website, which is monicasmit.com, and you can buy her book Cell 22. Yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I really like the message that she has for people.